Hi, my name is Natalie, and today I'm going to be talking about Gil's character arc in Pandora Hearts. Today I have decided to bring my fancy white gloves and my gold pocket watch as symbols to remember Pandora Hearts by and to remember Gil by. Gil is a very important character in the Pandora Hearts universe, and so I thought it would be a little bit fun if I brought some props to this video, so I apologize in advance if this is kind of a silly video. Before I get any further in this video, I would like to say, as I do with all of my Pandora Hearts videos, that there will be spoilers in this video, and probably a lot of them, especially for the end of Pandora Hearts. Gil is one of those characters who kind of sticks it out for a while, so he's extremely important to the plotline. So I need to put that out first because, yeah, we're going to be talking about a lot of spoilers in this video. Now that we've got the spoiler warning out of the way, we can finally talk about Gil, who is better known as Gilbert, and you can know him as Gilbert Nightray, or Gilbert Baskerville, or even a variety of other titles. Gil has a lot of them, and he's quite a character to unpack, so I'm going to try to do my best because there's a lot to talk about for him. At the beginning of Pandora Hearts, Gil is one of the first characters that we ever meet. Gil is a young child, and he is also the servant of Oz of Azaleas. He also serves the Azaleas family with anything that he can, but he's mainly there to serve Oz. And he very affectionately calls Oz Book-chan, which means little master. And it's kind of silly because Gil is, I believe, younger than Oz at the very beginning, and he still calls Oz little master. It's very cute, and they have a very amazing, very adorable relationship. I fell in love with Gil right off the bat just because of how adorable he is. Also, the drawings at the beginning of him are just so cute, and I remember seeing from the first pictures of him to later pictures of him when he's older that his expressions on his face are exactly the same. And I challenge you to go back to the beginning of Pandora Hearts and then a little bit later in Pandora Hearts and tell me that those two pictures don't look exactly the same. Like his facial expression, exactly the same, which is amazing because somehow Jun Makazuki made him look older but still the same, and I love it when artists are able to convey that type of thing with characters, and I just find him to be very, very cute. I love Gil as a character. He's probably my favorite character in Pandora Hearts, and I have been very excited to make this video because I do love him quite a lot. Gil has probably one of the biggest arcs in Pandora Hearts. I would argue to say that Oz's is the biggest arc because he starts at a very low place and ends up being in this tremendous peace with his life. And I made a whole video about that if you want to check it out. It's on my channel and it's called Oz's character arc. And yeah, you can learn more about him there. But he also is a very important person in Gil's life. Unfortunately, Gil, in his early beginnings, doesn't really think that he belongs, and he struggles to find a place where he can feel at peace. Much like Oz, a lot of the characters are trying to find their peace and where they think they belong in the world. Unfortunately, what Gil suffers from is unquestioning loyalty. He is so loyal to his masters because he thinks that's the only thing that gives him purpose, and he thinks that that's the only reason his life has meaning. That is the main driving force of Gil, is that he believes that his life doesn't really mean anything unless he does everything and anything for his master. At the beginning of Pandora Hearts, that's Oz. He will do anything for Oz. And although Gil and Oz share a brother-like relationship in which there's a lot of teasing going on and a lot of fun friendships, Gil is still a servant, and he struggles to break forth from that bond. He really doesn't understand that there is another way to interact with Oz, and basically doesn't fully understand how to be Oz's brother without also being a servant. And he just struggles with that kind of thing in his life. He doesn't understand how to balance the two, and doesn't understand how the two can counteract or work together. He believes that the two are always at opposite ends of a force, and he somehow can't put two and two together, that I can be a brother and also serve my master in a way that would express this relationship. And Oz frequently tries to ask Gil to do things that Gil doesn't think is appropriate for a servant, and they probably aren't. But Oz wants him to do it, but Gil doesn't know how to obey his master while also not breaking the servant code. So that's basically what's at the core of Gil's beliefs and the core of his character, is this loyalty. And I know I am very interested now in servants of different stories, specifically like Shakespeare servants, because they fascinate me in this way that they have this loyalty, and we're wondering, like, where in the human psyche does this come from, this loyalty to other human beings? It's not really ingrained in our nature. You know, you don't see animals having this kind of loyalty. It's a strictly human thing, and it's very much at the core of who Gil is this loyalty. And it just fascinates me that he is able to have this loyalty throughout the entirety of Pandora Hearts, but it does get shaken a bunch of times, and that is where Gil's character arc comes in. Throughout the course of Pandora Hearts, Gil's loyalty is tested. One of the biggest times that it's tested is when he is at this place with Oz, and they're all together, and they're kind of near the place where the tragedy of Sablier happened, so the capital Sablier, which, you know, fell into the abyss, but the city is kind of still there in a ghost-like way. It's kind of hard to explain, but basically it exists, but it doesn't exist, and they find out about the tragedy of Sablier, and Gil comes to this realization of who his master used to be. And as you find out, his master was Glenn Baskerville, aka Oswald, who was the brother of Lacey, who's kind of like the key in all the stories. If you want to learn more about Lacey, I made a video about her in another place. It's in a video called Lacey in Pandora Hearts. The reason I couldn't say it's a character arc video is because that would be a spoiler to people who are just glancing through the different video titles, and I didn't want that to happen. So if you see that, that's what it is. It's a Lacey character arc video, and it talks about Oswald in it. But anyway, in that video, basically I explained that, you know, Oswald was a Glenn, and Lacey was his sister. But basically what happens with this is Gil realizes that Glenn Baskerville used to be his master, and Glenn Baskerville and the Vesalius household are two opposing households. They basically don't like each other. Think of Romeo and Juliet. That Montague-Capulet relationship is kind of what happens between the two. And, you know, it mostly came from this tragedy of Sablier, when Jack Vesalius was apparently the hero, when really it was Glenn Baskerville. So there's a big opposition between these two houses, and Gil finds himself right in the middle. And when Gil was younger, even younger than when he was with Oz, he was the master. His master was Glenn Baskerville, and he had to do everything for him. And remember, he was going to be prepared to be the next Glenn. So the title of Glenn gets passed on. So Gil was going to be the next Glenn, and his master was Glenn Baskerville. And that was a big responsibility. And he, again, had this unquestioning loyalty, would do anything for his master and anything at all. And that's very important because when he meets Oz, he also says the same thing, do anything, anything at all. And of course, you know, he was around during the tragedy of Sablier. He's older than you think he is, but he doesn't remember any of that stuff because of the big cloud of what happened during the tragedy of Sablier. And everybody trying to keep it hush-hush, basically. So he doesn't remember. His mind is basically wiped from that scenario. He does not know that he used to serve this other master. And then he's serving Oz, and he says, I'll do anything for Oz. So then when he learns that he is part of both households, that he was originally a servant of the Baskerville household, and now he's a servant of the Vesalius household. Those are two opposing households, so what's he supposed to do? And who is he supposed to show his loyalty to? And he just gets very, very confused, and he doesn't know what to do with this unquestioning loyalty. Like, he put it in both places, undeniable. Like, anything that he did, he was never going to give up. He was going to be, basically to the end, I am going to be loyal to you to the end of my life. He even says that to Oz and, like, crosses his chest, says, I will be loyal to you forever. I'll never harm you, never do anything like that. So if you do that twice to two opposing households, you kind of are in a bit of a kerfuffle. You're kind of in a bit of a situation there. This is basically what is at the core of Gil's turning point in the story, is coming to realize who he should support. And happily, he does choose Oz. Now, it does come at a bit of a struggle at first. He does try to accidentally harm Oz, and he's thinking in his mind, you know, I should be serving my old master because they're my first master, so I should actually be killing Oz and fighting for my old master. But after he almost hurts Oz, he comes to a realization that, oh my goodness, I almost hurt my young master, the one that I pledged loyalty to, the one that I loved, the one that treated me like a brother. And he obviously, he just couldn't live with it. He just could not handle hurting Oz. So what he did is he ended up burning off his arm. Now, that's an extreme, guys, okay? Extreme. If you do something to someone that you didn't mean to, the best thing to do is apologize, okay? Don't go burning off your arm. It's extreme, okay? But it's supposed to represent something. And I also talked about this in my Christian imagery video, so if you want to watch that, go for it. But it's supposed to represent he will not harm Oz Vesalius. He will not break his promise. And he ultimately just decides, you know, Glenn is already dead. I need to serve Oz now. Oz is my master. Oz is the one that treated me like a brother. And it ended up being, you know, that relationship, that generosity and that kindness that Oz showed him that changed his mind and made him want to serve Oz. And I feel like that's important, that generosity and kindness from Oz is what Gil needs. Gil needs to be reassured that he is worth something. And so when he is reassured of that, then he can come to understand that he can be a good person and can be loyal to his master. And even though later on in Pandora Hearts, Gil is obviously older because Oz was thrown into the abyss for 10 years, Gil is still acts like he's younger and extremely, extremely loyal. And he always will do anything for Oz, always. And even though he's, you know, older and obviously probably more mature, he still listens to everything that Oz says and takes it as order, takes it as law. And that is very key to Gil's character, is when he makes this decision to serve a master that serves him. And I feel like that's important to understand, is that Gil chose to be on the right side of basically this history because he loved Oz. He didn't choose a master just because he had made a promise first, or he had made a promise to a dead man And he didn't take that promise to his grave. He didn't, like, die for it. Instead, what he did was he chose the generous master and the one that validated his life and his humanity. And I feel like that's important just to understand, is that the master he chose was the one who showed him kindness. And I'm not saying that Glenn Baskerville didn't show him kindness. He was extremely kind to him. You know, there's lots of scenes of Pandora Hearts where they're showing him on Glenn's shoulders and with his brother and everything like that. But he decided that Jack wasn't the reason he was going to turn around, wasn't the one who was going to keep him from loving Oz, his brother. He wasn't going to let these other figures decide who Oz was and who the Vesaliuses were. He knew, because Oz had treated him with kindness. And that's Gil's big turning point. Now, of course, we cannot make a Gil video without talking about Vincent. Vincent is Gil's younger brother, and he is also a child of misfortune, meaning that he will die and be thrown into the abyss. At least that's what's supposed to happen. That's what his fate is. Just like Lacey, he's supposed to be thrown into the abyss, preferably by his older brother. Now, when he was taken in by the Baskerville family along with Gil, this didn't exactly happen because there was a lot of confusion of, you know, the tragedy of Sablier happening and then the Glenn title not getting passed on. And he wasn't thrown into the abyss, but he and Gil had a relationship that needs to be talked about in this video because it is key to understanding the beginning and end of Pandora Hearts. Basically, in Pandora Hearts, you think that Oz is the main character because you follow him throughout the whole thing, and he's the first scene, and so you're thinking Oz is the main character of this story. That makes sense, and he is. If you look anywhere, you'll find Oz definitely the main character of the story, hands down. But the main narrator of this story is Gil, and Gil always goes with Vincent. The two of them always kind of stick together. And even though Oz and Gil are like brothers, Gil and Vincent are brothers, biologically and in every other sense. They act like one another, and they are very, very similar. But at the very end of Pandora Hearts, this is where I mean that the story is narrated by Gil, is that Gil is at Lacey's grave and he's waiting for Oz and Alice to return because he said he would wait and wait and wait. And Vincent comes up to him and Vincent talks to him and then Vincent dies. And that scene kind of confirms everything about their relationship, is that they will be together until the end. Literally the end of the story. They stick together throughout the whole thing. And though they get separated throughout the story, and though they kind of part ways a little bit and are very different from one another at some points, at their core, they are brothers, they are similar, they are kin, they are blood, and they will stick together until the end of time. And I would be amiss if I didn't talk about that relationship and didn't talk about how that influences Gil. Here I am talking about loyalty and loyalty to masters, but what about loyalty to a brother? Gil's loyalty to his brother is probably even more intense than loyalty to any master. He really sticks with Vincent, and even though Vincent is a little crazy and goes killing things and taking the eyes out of things and just doing a bunch of weird stuff, Gil really hangs on to him and understands that his brother is special, and, you know, he doesn't want to throw his brother into the abyss, and he'll take care of him wherever he goes. He says that a lot, like, I will take care of my brother, and he feels so guilty when he doesn't. He has that loyalty in him when it comes to his brother, whether it was when they were young and they were on the street, and whether it was when they were older and Vincent needed something and Gil was there for him, and they offer each other advice throughout it. It's a mutual relationship, but obviously Gil's the older brother, so he feels responsible for everything, and he really, really is loyal to his brother from the beginning to the end, especially in all of those really hard moments. And when, you know, Vincent is looking at the end of the life that he's going to have because he's a child of misfortune, and when he partners up with Leo and everything like that, Gil is there for him and is saying to him, make sure that this is going to be okay. Like, I want to be here for you. I don't want you to think that I'm not going to be here or I'm going to abandon you. And there's also, back to that piggyback scene at the end of Pandora Hearts, but it's really a beginning scene. Even when Vincent is on Jack's shoulders and is being carried around, Gil is looking at him to make sure that nobody, and I mean nobody, hurts his brother. He doesn't want any harm to come upon Vincent. And when it does, or when Vincent is in pain, Gil feels that pain. And he's always there for his brother, no matter what. Of course, another driving force in Gil's life is the ability to belong, which I kind of talked about before, and all the family dynamics that he inherits and the pain he feels when those are broken. You can see this in his relationship with Elliot Nightray, and also with his relationship with Oz's uncle. And this can be just seen as simply as the fight that he has with Elliot, where he says, I don't know what I did wrong, but I want to be a part of this life again, and I wish for you to be my brother. I want you as part of my life. And not understanding the dynamics of the Nightray family, because even though the Nightray family adopted them, they're still not really seen as family, and they're not really treated very kindly. So all of that kind of floating around is in Gil's mind as well, and in his heart. He feels that, and he understands that there are some miscommunication and something amiss with the family, and he doesn't quite feel like he fits there. And then with Oz's uncle, you know, he feels this warm family bond, and when the uncle dies, he is just as hurt as Oz is, because he felt that warmness and that connection, and it feels like a family member dying to him. Gil doesn't really have a family of his own except for his brother, which is why his brother is so important to him. But he has all these other connections and all these other familiar ties that bring him across the entirety of the story. You know, the story is about Oz, but Gil is threaded through the entirety of the story's makeup and is there to supply as this amazing aid. A lot of the beginning of the story, there's a lot of joke of his uselessness, but at the end of the story, we really see that he's kind of a big character, especially when Oz and Alice come back, and you see that he's writing this letter to them, and you realize Pandora Hearts is kind of like that letter to them, saying that everything's going to be okay. And he has these relationships, and he feels them in his heart, but he doesn't know which ones of them he connects with. And even though he feels the pain and he feels the understanding of being a part of that family, and he might feel like he belongs for a minute, he doesn't fully have that true grasp of understanding what it is to be a part of a family. And that kind of stretches throughout the entirety of Pandora Hearts until the end, when he realizes that his family was always the people who were there for him, and that's his brother Vincent, who dies with him, and Oz and Alice, who come back to him, and they are seen together. Now, there is a bit of conspiracy around this as to what exactly happens. You could say that Gil died and joined them in the abyss, or they actually came back and everything was fine. This is a theory that my friend proposed to me, so I don't know too much about it, but if you're interested in that, I can try and make a video about it. But basically, those people, those core people, he finds his ties to. And that's core to Gil's character arc, is throughout the entire Pandora Hearts, he's kind of like, what is happening here? How can I belong? How can I be a part of this story? How can I be a part of these people's lives? How can I fit and feel like I am loved? And at the end of Pandora Hearts, there is the greatest love. And that's welcoming the family home and being with those people that make him feel safe, make him feel at home, and make time to show him that he is loved and cared for, and show him kindness, as I was talking about with Oz before, how Oz shows Gil kindness. Even though there's a fair amount of teasing, that can still be considered as kindness. That fitting in at the end is truly where you see that he has grown, that he understands what it is to be a part of a family, what it is to be a part of something loving. And at its core, that's what Pandora is about. Family and love. And if it was about anything else, I feel like it would kind of fall apart. But at its core, it always was about the family and the dynamics between the characters. And I feel that Gil is there to show what that means and how that's supposed to be taken through Pandora Hearts. He's there to hold up that theme throughout the rest of the series, so that way we as readers can see it and understand and feel with him all this pain and grief and love and all the tremendous things that he gets to experience as a human. To sum things up, because we only have a little bit of time left, Gil starts in a place where he doesn't understand what it is to place loyalty and to love. He thinks that the only way of his human worth is to show loyalty to a master and to basically lay down a life for a master and to put his life in his master's hands. He thinks that's his only semblance of worth. To a place where he finally can accept that there is more than just loyalty of a servant and master, but a great friendship and brotherhood that he can build with these people that he's met and loved and cared for. He consistently stays with his brother throughout his entire character arc and learns that there is more than just loyalty to a master, but loyalty to a brother and also to friends and family, and that he can make a family and he's worthy of a family. And I feel like it's of note that Gil does not marry throughout the entirety of Pandora Hearts. He never takes on any sort of wife or any sort of girlfriend or anything, even though he is one of the hottest characters in Pandora Hearts, hands down. But he does have this understanding that that's not everything that is in life, and he eventually comes to realize that his brotherhood and also his love that he has for all of these people is enough. And that's what makes the ending of Pandora Hearts, with him reaching out to Oz and the Golden Light, so powerful, is that he found something on Earth that is otherworldly. And that ending is perfect for Gil, to understand that he's finally loved and understood, and not just as a servant, but as a person. And that's the majority of Gil's character arc, is finding that loyalty does not just mean a servant to master, but from a person to a person. That loyalty can mean love. And that's what Gil's loyalty does become, is love for these people that have taken him in as a family. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, comment. I love comments so much. I appreciate them. If there's anything else that you'd like me to talk about in the future, please let me know. If you'd like me to make anything about Gil and Vincent as a separate video, I'll be more than happy to. Just let me know. I know I did talk a little bit about their relationship in this video, but if you want me to go more in depth, I would be very happy to. If there's another character you'd like me to talk about, I will take your consideration into account. I love suggestions, and I love making videos that make you happy, so anything goes. Just please be respectful in the comments section, and I appreciate it. If there's any other book that you'd like me to talk about, please let me know. I have a lot to choose from, people, so please let me know. I don't just have to make Pandora Hearts videos. If there's a book you want me to talk about, let me know, and I will. Or if there's a book recommendation that you have for me, please let me know that as well, and I will happily read it eventually. I have a lot of books on my plate right now, so if there's anything that you'd like me to read, let me know. Anything else, just please let me know, and I will hopefully make a video about it. I would like to let you know that in a few weeks I will be going on a pretty long hiatus, and this is because I will not have time to make videos, as I won't be here to make them. So if there is a topic that you are burning to hear in the next month, please let me know, because again, after the end of August, I will be on a hiatus for at least a few weeks, or maybe about a month, hopefully not longer than that. So yeah, have a great day, everyone. I have these wonderful gloves to say goodbye to you, so bye everyone, and have fun reading and watching videos, and have a great day!